Hello, test, test. Hello. You hear me? Okay. All right. Thanks for coming. I hope you guys just spent a really good Monday, starting of the week. Like I'm kind of sleepy, but it's okay. I manage. So yeah, welcome to our talk today. It's our practice talk today, from the exhibition Minds and Machine, which belongs to the Festival of RMIT Universities, the Creative Design Festival. Today I'm really glad to and happy to win our three artists, the real artist talk today. To our panel discussion. One is in Germany right now, Cẩm Anh, Lương Cẩm Anh. Oh, we are on loop. Cẩm Anh, where are you?
Hi everyone, I'm here to listen to you. Nice to meet you. Go see how the decided.
So yeah, Cẩm Anh is also a digital artist, which works a lot on AR technique, and her work is mostly about research about artificial intelligence as a tool. And she's currently based in Berlin. And I got here Nhi, who's also in our exhibition downstairs. You guys can check over the work downstairs, by the way. So Nhi is also study fine art in Singapore, and she focused a lot on digital art as well. And currently, in the work, in the exhibition, is about like digital ghosts, right? Yeah. We get to know about that a little bit later, as our three artists gonna present their works a little, and we have a little chit chat. So we're gonna do it very cozy. I like the word cozy. And yeah, last but not least, we got Christian Berg. He's an artist, a photographer, but also a lecturer at RMIT. His work in the exhibition is about on the place I have lived. It's the work, and it's the only physical works, but still deal with artificial intelligence. So we have like three works which have maybe similar with the subject, but we have three very different approach to the subject. And we're gonna talk about it later as well. And I think, you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, or is it fine?
Yeah, I think that's okay. That's a very good introduction. Yeah.
Okay, let's give it.
I will say a few more words when I present my work. But
yeah. Okay, cool. That's a cool video. And so I think we're gonna start with the first presentation from Christian. Maybe?
Okay.
Let's do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Man first.
Happy to do that. I will try to keep it short and sweet, and just like introduce the work. Yeah, go back to the first slide. All right. Yeah, so my work is called All the Places I Have Lived. And it's not actually all the places I have lived, but all the places I have lived in Ho Chi Minh City, in Saigon. And basically, this work is twofold. So it's a part of my current PhD research. I'm study PhD at RMIT Melbourne, in a practice-based PhD. And so the questions that I'm trying to explore with my work is looking into what does home and belonging mean in the 21st century, but I'm also looking in that process into artificial intelligence as a tool. Because today the topic is about AI as a tool, I want to emphasize a little bit more on my process and a little bit less maybe on the question of home and belonging, but it's still important to understand because they both go hand in hand. And I like to start with a quote here by Willem Flusser, who's like a theorist and like who lived in exile for a long time, and he says, I'm now without Heimat because I have too many Heimat inside me. And Heimat, that's a German word for home, but actually it means much more than home. It has a connotation of like where you are coming from, where you belong to, but it also has like kind of a almost kitschy stereotype related to like the identity of the nation and so on. But this quote resonates quite deeply with me because I moved from Germany to Southeast Asia in my early 20s and haven't really returned since then except for a few shorter stays like half a year here, half a year there, and sometimes like a month or two to finish my studies. And of course when I was young or younger, I'm in my 40s now, when I was in my early 20s and moved to Asia, everything was new and excited, but what nobody prepared me towards, and I think that's the experience for anyone who lives overseas for a certain time, is that once you live there for a long time, your identity gets split up. Like you have like people and places you care about in different places in the world. And that's one of the things I try to explore. I come from the background of a documentary photographer. So for many years I worked as a documentary and commercial photographer and have covered Southeast Asia and Asia for magazines and newspapers like New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, and I've been doing a lot of commercial work as well. But a couple of years ago I started to see that if I try to capture a place, I feel like the traditional image alone doesn't necessarily do it justice. So it's very difficult to capture a place, especially if you care about it in a frame or even in a couple of frames. So I started to play with different things like multiple exposures or long exposures to try to still capture the complexity of a place in a frame. So that's basically where I come from. But the idea of this project is really, and you will see in a moment why I involve artificial intelligence, that traditional photography alone doesn't really do this kind of complexity of places justice. So I decided in different ways to employ AI as a tool. And the project that I'm introducing has two phases in which I worked on it. And in the first phase, I used image generative AI to create sets of images based on my own visual data set, and I will show you in a moment how that looks like. And for that I used a software called Stable Diffusion that might be familiar for some of you. For those of you who don't know it, I'm sure most of you have heard about Midjourney. So it's that kind of AI where you write a prompt and then it creates an image for you. And usually that creates images for you based on the corpus of the whole internet, right? Like they use everything that's out there to recreate images. But for me it was important to use my own images to train the AI because this work is about the places where I have lived, right? So I decided to explore the different neighborhoods I have lived in Saigon over the course of 15 years and try to see if I collect a visual data set, what the AI can do with it. And I think just like one thing that's interesting when talking about these AI images, and this is one of the examples of an AI-generated image, is a quote or an idea that comes from the artist Hito Steyerl, German-Japanese artist, and she talks about these images as mean images, and mean in two ways. First, in the way that they can be a part of disinformation. Right? They look like real photographs, but they might not be. So they tell us not the truth, which is mean, so to say. But also mean in the sense of average, because these images are the average of everything that is there. And I think that's really interesting because in a way the images I generate then are the average of the visual data sets I use. So if you can press play here, that's an example of like some of the images from one of the neighborhoods I photographed where I used to live. So usually I create like a collection of 200 or 300 photos to train my AI model on. And then using Stable Diffusion, there will be, I don't know, hundreds of images coming out, as many as I want. And then of those, I pick some of the images that resonate the most to me and work further on them in Photoshop. I don't think we need to go through the whole set here, just to give you an idea of what's the basis when I train my images. So this is an example what comes out of training images. Basically, this one is from the data set that you've just seen. And what became really interesting for me is that these images, they are not places that really exist, but they're places that could have been. And because I photographed the neighborhoods I have lived in, it is something similar to memories. The further our memories are away, the more distorted they become, right? And our memory is not necessarily true, and most of the time actually it's distorted in a way. So these places that could have been in a way represent these memories, okay? And so I had a few different examples there, and after a while I started playing around with more things in Photoshop, so I started to employ some sort of effects that look a little bit like glitches. And I felt that was visually very pleasing, but then I did some more research into what a glitch actually is in art, and I felt that if I just use a Photoshop layer to create a glitch, it's really meaningless. Because the idea of a glitch is to use the medium itself and to tweak it and to distort it, right? And to create something new, like to use like an error, so to say, that is sometimes physically and sometimes introduced via code. So I tried different ways to use code to basically change the source code of the images to see how the image changes then. While I could do that, the results I had there felt kind of boring, so I decided to go a third way. And that was around the time when ChatGPT came around, so I decided, okay, let's collaborate with the AI. And I had it help me to write code for a little piece of Python software, which I call the memory infuser, where I give the software a memory that I have of the place, and based on the memory, it distorts the image and overlays the text of that memory at the same time into the image. And here are some more examples of like my dialogue with ChatGPT, and if you can play this video, you will see how this memory infuser works. So you load an image inside, and then I write a text, which is the memory in this case, and then step by step it infuses that. And the interesting thing, or what was really important for me, is that the final output is always the same as long as I don't change the text. So the same memory always has the same final result. So I think it takes a moment longer and then it will stop. Yeah. So when I would put this sentence in, I didn't want to live here at first, 2023. Every time the final result looks like that. But if I change like a number in there, or I change the text, then the result looks different. And to me, that became a second level of distorting my memory. But also like introducing the memory at the same time. So the idea of glitch art often is to use code to destroy something for the machine or for the technology to reveal itself. Actually, in this case, this is not a real glitch. It's an aesthetic of a glitch that even though I use software put on top of that. But in the end, I felt that is okay or good for me, because I'm not revealing a machine here or something, but I reveal the idea that memory itself is distorted and fake. And yeah, let's go back to the presentation. So, let me see. Yeah, so here are a few more examples. I ended up having like 9 images that are downstairs in the exhibition, and each of them represents one stage of my life as a Western migrant to Asia, actually. So they are like the memories together with the place, they are like different stages of this life of migrating here. And yeah, that's the final outcome, 9 neighborhoods and 9 memories. And this is like a flowchart. It's probably not readable, but that's just an overview of my workflow. So actually, like in creating this image, there are many steps involved, from going to a neighborhood, gathering the visual data, training the artificial intelligence on that visual data, in this case a diffusion model. There are different other types of artificial intelligence that could be used. Then the next step is the selection then, because I could have infinite output. So eventually I need to decide which images I want to use. Then using Photoshop, also with AI tools, further to distort the image, insert maybe like a fake artificial sky or like a blurry depth of field. And then in the second step, use the memory infuser to put the memory on top, upscale the image and print it. And maybe just one thing interesting to say, because I put the, like, as Nam said, like this is a physical piece of work. So I decided to put it, print it on bamboo paper. And that's also like in a way symbolic for my relationship between, or my own positioning in a third space between Vietnam and Germany, because I feel I belong to Saigon. Like I lived there for such a long time. I would say maybe I'm even Saigonese, but I will never be Vietnamese, right? Being a foreigner here, it's not happening. But I feel strongly about belonging to the city. And so the material I used is a German bamboo paper. So it's a paper from Germany, but bamboo is a material from Vietnam, and I feel in its physicality that really nicely closes the circle. And just because today we're talking about the use of AI as a tool, I just wanted to introduce another video. Maybe can you hit play? Which is from an earlier attempt using a different type of artificial intelligence, but working on the same project, just to add a little bit to the discussion of what you could do with a similar approach, but using a different type of AI, like the output is very, very different. And yeah, that's in short, like the introduction of my work, and I'm really looking forward to hear what the other artists have to share, and like hopefully some questions later. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do the question at the last, because
Yes.
like we have 3 presentations today, so it's gonna take a while. I think let's give the stage for the person who is the furthest away digitally. Cẩm Anh, are you catching us? Where is she? How's everybody feeling today? Like Monday? Fun day, no? Nice. It's also like when you talk about, you know, like you living here, but you will never be the person, like the Vietnamese, you know, like I had also kind of the same feeling when I'm living in Germany as well, but also when I told you earlier, I haven't go back to like 5 years, you know, so, and when I came back, I also feel like, oh, actually, I've got a little bit out.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant, like that people don't prepare you for that when you move overseas, because you're also not loose, but you get more distance from the place where you originally come from. Because when I go back to Germany, it's the same thing, of course, like everything is familiar, but at the same time, yeah.
It's so strange at the same time, so far away.
Exactly.
And you need time to like adapt things and like questioning things like, oh, have I been there before? It's kind of this, even also this is also say that it's false memories of places that new, but it actually feel familiar. it's happened to me when I go back to Hanoi, because there's a lot of street where I think, oh, I have been there before, but the streets like didn't exist before I came here, before I left. So yeah, is Kameng already here? All right, now yeah, you can start, Kameng.
Can I start?
Yeah, sure, do that, please. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Christian, for your presentation. I learned a lot myself from taking notes and from the practice. And so I'm a bit reverse of Christian this thing because I've been living in Germany now for 6 years. My name is Kamang, and before I moved to Germany for education purpose, I work as a dealer in Hanoi, work as a designer in Saigon, and social work in India. And I never thought about becoming an artist, but since I moved to Germany and they're really supporting structures and facilitate my practice, therefore I started exploring and question several topics such as migration, personal narratives, and also like the politics of memories. And my main use is with virtual reality to question itself what is really reality, you know, and to bring the audiences using the visitor into the immersive installation, whether they can confront them, is this reality, is this not, and then what can narrative we can bring out of this experience. Yeah, so this is like, and I start also, I also deal with many others like medium before AI technology, such as performance, also drawing, and like gamification, like my favorite tool. But yeah, so since, and then last, can you have the next slide, please? Yeah, and since last summer, I got the opportunity to produce the work shot in AI, and this is my first work with AI, and I don't want to call myself an AI artist. I will explain you why. This next slide, please. Yeah, so I say I'm not an AI artist, although it's a really cool term and it's really exciting and many things where people can generate different images and kind of facilitate the way of human being can, imagine and so on. Yeah, in 2022, I think when the booms of Midjourney and Dolly, and also like other artists, I also tried to explore a little bit, like for the this one right here. And, like living in a two-world East and West, I would like asking, okay, what is the potato? Or a sweet potato, or potato would be, AI would be like perceive. So, and then this, it was a fun work in 2022. But then I start to realizing there are many AI will have like certain bias depending on its data that it will be fed to. Next slide, please. Yeah, and also certain questions that based on my background, with the, like a little bit of performance, I always bring the human factors into, confronting with AI, and then also the question about training models or data, where the data, is it legal, is it ethical, describe these data, and so on. And also as an, Southeast Asian living in Europe, is also the question of representation, minority representation, certain and how can this data like AI bias would harm might be harmful for visual and have episodes in the AI art and so on. And then, yeah, so it's most important for me also what could be there, could be the diverse voices, what are the perspectives that we could contribute to this process. Next slide, please. Yeah, and here I would like to break down the work. It's like it's hint into the work name, Chotin AI. So I love how it turned out in my favorite one is the Vietnamese version of it, Chotin AI, and the English version is just in AI. It was first shown in Canada, so I came up with the English version of it first, but then after a while thinking, and okay, what this could be a similar, I may almost go to similar. And then the Vietnamese version come out, and I was quite happy about this, because for the people who don't know Vietnamese here, I would like to explain to you a little bit in our way to when we use this phrase, is that mean to accept someone has told the truth or has done something wrong because you cannot prove that they have not. So like it's often connected with like often negative, something like that. Like I thought em cho tiếng Anh, you know, so like you don't really you're like, okay, why can't you be better, something like that, or you know, and it's kind of very like a sweet phrase, I think, and it's have like color of where I can also can be compared to the way we work with AI, because we don't know, we can't prove this is wrong until we see another right version, you know. So like, I don't know, I'm not a technician or an IT consultant like Nhi here, so maybe you can explain to me a machine learning process if it's correct, yeah, the way I understand machine learning. Yeah, next slide, please. And then AI, so with this AI, the different way to perceive AI, but this is my favorite quote, private understanding. And also it's inspired me to do the work as well. Can I read it out loud? So it's a phantom is roaming around the world, visible in certain points, but mostly hidden from the plain sight, moving stealthily into every area of life and work, and into every private recess. It comes in the guise of the epitome of progress, promising increased efficiency and profit to some, and absolute control and power to certain others, and communities to the masses. Some see it harbinger of doom for humankind, a Pandora box of self-destruction now open and impossible to close again. Yeah, I would like to share with you this quote, and I hope it resonates with you as a point. Yeah, next slide is the Vietnamese version of this. Maybe you can keep it a few seconds to for the Vietnamese audience to read. Yeah, I translated with Google, I think, and I try to make it this. Một bóng ma lang thang trên thế giới, hiển hiện tại những điểm nhất định nhưng hầu như bị che giấu khỏi bằng mắt thường. Di chuyển một cách lén lút vào mọi lĩnh vực trong cuộc sống và công việc hàng ngày, cũng như vào mọi khe hở riêng tư. Nó xuất hiện dưới hình dạng của sự tiến bộ tuyệt đối, hứa hẹn tăng hiệu quả và lợi nhuận cho một số người, nhưng lại kiểm soát tuyệt đối quyền lực cho một số người khác, và là hàn hóa cho đất nước còn lại. Một số khác cho rằng nó như là một điềm báo của sự tuyệt diệt cho nhân loại và một chiếc hòm Pandora của sự tự kỷ, và bây giờ được mở ra không thể đóng lại được. Yeah. So for me, this code is like open a lot of energy and like a Pandora box. Like once you open, you go hard. What next, and reach out a lot of energy and a lot for the artists. I see so many potential to explore. Next slide, please. Speaking about AI bias, and this is another AI work that I'm really inspired by. Essential, like you choose an artist like propose the machine where, you know, the audiences can choose what is a good and what is the bad beans. It's just like a very binary chosen, you know, like how can you know what is good and what is bad? And then you let this decision to, I don't know, like machine, and depends on the data is fed into the AI and machine learning. So when you like intelligent system like is run, and then would it become too subjective, the decision making process, or is very, you know, clear that, and we don't really know unless we step into the, you know, act like a machine through this. So, and I had the opportunity to see this work in Argentina in Linz last autumn, and I'm very kind of inspired by this, and it resonates to the work. Like my question towards about, you know, decision making as well. Next slide, please. So, okay, so what do I mean by AI by SI? So theory aside, this is my practice a little bit. So on the left side is a screenshot from a video VR work I worked last year. It was shown documentary. It's about collective storytelling, where I wanted to empower the characters into the, you know, another world, like fairy tale world, where we could storytelling and empower ourselves, how we see our struggle being as a women in exile in Europe. And I'm, yeah, you can check it on LinkedIn if you want, there's excerpt of that. So like one, we have this dolly out, and I try to, you know, experiment a little bit with this picture. So, you know, it's totally crazy, and I that's why I'm so angry about this, because on the one hand, I want to, you know, show that my character had past, had present, had thought and thinking, and have like, you know, the symbol of their culture, this character like with the Arabic culture, it's common Syria. But Dolly, you know, it's integrated, it's just really color is very exotic nice, and their comment is so harmful for our perceive of like you know like women of color, you know, and this is their comment is a problem. Okay, next slide. So this one, so for this opportunity, this Carnival of Agrometric Culture in Toronto, so this work was commissioned by them. And I took this chance to explore further this work that you see in the VFCD now, the Shopping AI. Next slide. A little bit about my process making. Since I think like single narrative could be very harmful, I uses several several human belief data sets as a data set, like fed to several tools like ChatGPT, Notion, Bing, and then to deconstruct them into like what is the element of human belief. And I realized that there are many, despite being many different, you know, beliefs per se, there are ways to, it's reduced into certain symbols such as like fire, water, flowers, like fading, home, it's like calm, so on. And then this is kind of like ping pong between me and AI text generated and an image to text to image and text to text. And it was a fun process. I don't count how many pictures I had. But in the end, and I make it animated with a runway. And then that's the result of what you see in the background video. Yeah, and then I want to, yeah, it was okay. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the next step is to integrate it into a space interactive installation where I would like to invite visitors to come into the, first back then it Kinect, and now it's the camera and webcam. Whereas the visitor can part of the installation itself, their data would be surveyed. But I don't use this data. I just show it as a kind of constantly changing you know, like choreography. So the visitor decide when they can come, when they can leave, what they would like to interact with, how they want to, you know, considering this the beliefs of humanity, how would they like to worship it? And I would like to like playful a little bit with this. As you know, continuance of human activity since for our ancestors, and how like worshiping with like her or cúng is like offering. So I open this and make it more, you know, free, and everyone can have their own definition and own interactive with that. And then you see the effect is a bit like, you know, phantom-like. It's like ghost-like. That's what I inspired from the definition of AI in the previous slide. And next slide. Yeah. So many questions. I try to narrow down, and so far I think it's further. What does your question depends on you, the audience as well. My question next is like, when it's this circle or count and has generated, we feed the data and we have a new data, and where's the end, where's circle? So for that question, I opened from the performance artist. Is that next please? I decided to invite that to, you know, to react to the work in his from his experience, his personal experience. And then we also, based like the workflows, also we researched too many religions and beliefs around the world, the way they're performing, and that like reacted and abstracted into, yeah, and we're gonna see the performance of that now, about 10 minutes, and yeah, and then that would be it. And thank you for, I will open for any other question. Enjoy the performance of that.
Hello.
Thank you, Cẩm Anh, for your presentation and your share about your work with us. Yeah, so we got one last presentation. Hold on, which is like I think it's one of the three really standing out, and this one, which is from totally another different approach to what the so-called AI art, like because this definition, this word is still very controversial until now. Like there's no definition for it, and even AI artists is like what is the so-called artists who are working with AI. They also refuse to let them call themselves AI artists because it's and what does AI mean actually? Is there even a thing called AI? And as I think it's also like the same question when the new kind of arts movement, new art categories appear in the art history. So it's create a lot of controversial thinking and philosophical thinking, and it still need years and years to develop. And so in a way, like and also like after so many years, it still can be destructive and be reshaped. Yeah. So yeah, to another approach from a person who is like literally study IT into the art and get into the art, and yeah, I think it's yeah, you can start.
Finally. Okay, I'll make it very short because I think a lot of you here may have a lot of questions. I want to leave time for you. Okay. Nah. I'll talk about myself by explaining about my art. Okay, so hello, and yeah, again, I don't call myself an AI artist or like dealing with any specific mediums. I think I'm more focused on the topic, and my topic is spirituality. Because living in different countries, and also I used to be an IT consultant before doing art school, and now an artist. I had that reflection on like who I am and what is my identity, and then it boiled down to the question is like what is the role of spirituality into shaping who I am today? So that way, I'm dealing a lot with the between two worlds, which means the world, the reality, and the world of the dead. The death, the world that's when you die, where will you go? Or the world of imagination, the world of ghosts, you can say. But ghosts also used to be human being. And that's why I first started not with AI or coding or programming. I first started with video installation. So this video, I projected on the wall and create the illusion of shadows of people walking. And then you walk in front of the video, the wall, and you can see your own shadow combined with the shadow that I pre-recorded, become one thing. So two words come into one word. And that's why I had the question of, okay, when we die, back then, our children remember us through photos, like physical photos, or physical like name cards. But in today's world, we have, let's say, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, or maybe when we pass away, our account's still on the internet, stored in some kind of database. Then it creates the digital ghost. So in this work, I want to create the digital world that see the world as we humans see the world, because as I said, ghosts used to be human, so of course they see the way as we see. That's why here I use the normal camera instead of Kinect, because Kinect use different like vision technology than human being. And cameras like the webcam is used at the way the cameras see things. But we human brain, we see things and we know, like, for example, you sit over there and you know you sit like far away from me because we have our brain and neural network. do the analyzing for us. And in computer, with the camera along, with the webcam along, they cannot do it. That's why we need to have machine learning. And in this work, I use the normal webcam together with machine learning, which is the Midas algorithm to create the mirror that reflects the real human stand in front of the camera of the computer eyes. So this is my digital ghost from our real human. Oh, you can see Miss Hang over there in the picture. So you just became a ghost in the screen. So yeah, I'll keep it very short, but that's it. You wanna say?
Yeah, thank you.
I try to keep it very short.
So yeah, I mean, we all saw the 3 works, and I hope you guys also like really experience it and see it downstairs. If not, do it now, later or tomorrow. It's gonna just until Friday. Your choice, your chance. Don't miss it. Anyway, so we just talk about like the topic of AI and what is artificial intelligence. I have found a few quotes that I would like to start a discussion with. So the first thing is from the science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke, and he said he has 3 rules of asymptomatic, and one of the rules said in every advanced technology is no different from magic. So that is the first thing to start with technology, right? When technology is like way out of our current understanding and we create something that we cannot even explain, so can we call it magic? And the second thing is, so what is artificial intelligence? And I found this quote from Peter Weibel, a very famous video artist in the art history. And he also researched a lot about AI, and his quote is, "Artificial intelligence doesn't exist." Doesn't exist. So what is actually artificial intelligence, and why do we call it artificial intelligence, right? And so basically, in short to explain, it's like, so artificial intelligence, artificial is something when you create, so a human is created, but what is intelligent? How do you define intelligence? So do we define mostly intelligent with the living things, with living creatures? Okay, a horse, a dog, human has intelligence. So can a machine has the ability to have intelligence? And when we create an artificial intelligence, we kind of what we call intelligence. So whose intelligence is it belong to? Who does it belong to? So it's a kind of more or less like a reflection of our own intelligence, and not what is the so-called like this autodidactic or autonomy intelligence of the machine. So it doesn't really exist. Yeah, and also like the term about AI artists is super controversial because and you define what is artificial intelligence or art, or what is AI art actually, which is like a really good example of our talk today, because we have like 3 different works dealing with 3 different materials and mediums and media, and in the end, after a lot of like readings, we just can conclude that AI art is not like really doesn't have to has AI in it. It can be a subject, what we talk about, that the artworks deal with, or it can use mostly nowadays, the current situation, like mostly as a tool. So the AI doesn't really create art. It still needs our support, our commands. So we got the 3 different approach here, right? When I'm talking, I think I would start with with Christian, you first, because you started as a photographer, and you also study about media and so on. So you know what all the theories are about, and you practice a lot with images. And how was the switch from being a photographer, like in a literal way, into like using in creating image in a different way, because you don't really these images are now created is not 100% through your eyes, through the lens, that's through how you use it anymore. So how is it for you, like in turn?
Thank you, Nam. I think that's also thank you for Kaman and for Ni for sharing their practice. I think really, really interesting, and I took a few notes and have a lot of questions also to reflect for myself. And thank you, Nam, also for the quotes that you had. I think a lot of good points there. I think the journey for me from being a traditional, conventional photographer to use AI as a tool, and I also would not call myself an AI artist. I think that's, I don't know, that's if a painter would call themselves a pen, like a brush artist or something. So I think that doesn't make too much sense, right? It was a really interesting journey, and I must say when I started with this now about 2 years ago, I had a lot of misconceptions as well, and for that actually I want to pick up on what Kaman talked about in terms of the bias, because when I started I thought, oh, maybe I can use AI to like as something that is neutral and helps me to unsee my own bias, right? Because as a Western photographer in Asia, of course, like I carry my own heritage, my own background with me whenever I take photos. So I thought maybe AI can help me to unsee that and to do that. And I think I was really wrong in that. The more I dug into like theories about artificial intelligence, because everything that comes out of a generative AI has to come from somewhere. And if you use, for example, Midjourney, that's, as we said, like most of the images on the internet, right? And any bias that is there will be emphasized and like made even stronger by the AI. So that means if I train the AI with my own images, that also means there's still bias, but this time it's my bias. And that is actually something I find really interesting in working with that, because now I'm trying to figure out maybe training the AI on my own images can show me something about my own bias or my own way of seeing, like the city I'm home in, that I don't even know, because I create this mean image, right? Like the average image out of all the images I put in. And that was a really interesting part of the journey. I think beyond AI, I found interesting to expand photography beyond the camera, right? Because that's something also I didn't realize first. You can create photographic images without using a camera as well. And I find all of that really fascinating. But every step along the way creates more questions than answers. But that's also the fun part, I guess.
And I also like, I noticed in your presentation or in your text, you said you collaborate with the AI. And I think like, how can you, when you call something that you cooperate with someone, right? You don't cooperate with something. So it's more or less like you kind of, I don't know, maybe you kind of accept it as something living, or it's...
I wouldn't say it's something living, but I think it's a collaboration in the sense that it is trained on the data from something living, right? Because all the data that goes into any AI first is human-made before. So it's a collaboration with like the accumulated knowledge of us. So if I collaborate with ChatGPT, I don't think that ChatGPT is conscious. It's not. And I also don't believe that AI will ever be conscious. It will get more and more elaborate. That's what I think. And it will fake being conscious, and we might be tricked into its consciousness, but it's not, right? But it is fed with collective experience. And so with that, it's collaborating with experience from other people, even though I don't know exactly who they are or I met them.
Thank you. And that's right. And when we talk about like this realm of realities and what is not, and you say no, and Cẩm Anh is also doing this kind of believing, you know, about religions, about image of religions. It's also say like, when can you really believe in something that actually does not exist, and what is the power? When is the power is enough for you to really believe in? Like, because you can believe in the religion, you can believe in Buddhism, you can believe in Christianity, and so on. But we all now see that these religions are like really powerful and really convincing. And so that's why I want to ask Cẩm Anh the question about, like, do you really believe that these tools or this AI has the powers to become like a religion, or and if it will, or it might be, and in which term, or you think it could be, you know?
Thank you for your question. I think the answer is contained in the question itself. and also curious how do visitors in VFCD react to the work lately in Saigon and in Hanoi. I'm really curious how, I think that question should be open to visitors. Would they like it? Do they worship it? They're still, skeptical about it. How they react to that? Would they inspire them to create a new work with AI, and so on? I think, and I just want to react to what Chris said. Like the collaboration with AI. The data is there. It's like all over internet. What is personal is what we live, and what our memory, the AI can't really replace it, I think. The nostalgic moment, for example, like for them, I miss the food in Vietnam a lot. And, how much, if I see it, the image of the Dolly or Miss Journey, I couldn't recreate that smell, recreate that image, or recreate that moment I share that meal with, for example. So I think, an AI in the end of the day, I think I don't think it's intelligent. It's just like a lot of data. Yes, so what? You cannot live for me. Like you cannot experience life for me. And so on, and then we're actually more powerful. We have bodies, we could experience, we could continue with questions. I mean, towards some point, if AI would put questions back to us, then with the informed robot or something like that, I don't know. Then we need to talk, yes. But so far it's okay. I think so. We're still under control. All right. I don't know. That's my perspective.
Actually, I'm not really sure if we are so far so okay, or if we are really under control. We are all under control. Is in under control, because when we see how religion's models works, it's all about convincing. And when we really believe on something and it works, it's mean convincing, spreading, converting. Those three things, kind of three steps. When you believe in something, you start spreading it to other people who haven't had the religion yet, who haven't believed in it yet. So to spread it out, and you try to gain power by converting other people with different beliefs into your beliefs or religions, right? If we see like how this tool nowadays being used is, I think it's more or less like there's already a cult. What is that? Cult? A cult, yeah. Which is like a kind of a starting point, I think, that really people really believe in it and like really practice it with the whole thing with bitcoins and everything. It's creating something now at the moment, and people like this kind of communities, they deeply believe in it. Like it's gonna change the world, you know. And I don't know if we're still in control because this thing is spreading crazily. Yeah, and what is it? I think when we talk about this believing and religion is also go with the question of, you know, goals of spiritual, and now it's like your turn, Yi.
Okay, so
Yeah.
first, I'll just go back to the religion one. So the thing is, when AI making people believe, I think because it's a black box. And when it's a black box, you don't know what inside. And you just like, sometimes people just overreact over it. So I think, but when you break down what is really AI artificial intelligence by definition, which means we make the machine learn. And how the machine learn is machine learning, it's a tool, and how it do that is algorithm. And algorithm basically mathematics, and you feed a lot of data into it. So it's not black box, it's black and white, but just because the machine learning technology itself, it has a lot of neural network, we call it neural network, and it has a lot of hidden layers, and we don't know what really happened inside those hidden layers. That's why we get a little bit confused. But as back to the story, first you said biases. Why have biases? Because of the training data set that we fed into the machine learning itself. So whether AI can become a religion, yes, it can if we never try to understand what it is. And for me, I'm sorry, I think it cannot. Now, because in order for it to become a religion, at least it should be AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. But the AI we have right now is just ANI, just narrow intelligence, which means or your voice, or maybe some objects. And what is AGI? I'm not a scientist to say this. I'm just an artist, so just don't take my word too serious. AGI is reasoning, and AI doesn't have reasoning right now, yet. So I think right now AI cannot have become a religion or have a soul, just like the question that Cẩm Anh has in her work, whether AI has a soul or not. And that's very debatable because even we human, like how can we define what is a soul? And it's like a war between a lot of religions by the definition of what is the soul and what happened after we die. And whether I can AI have soul? I don't know, I'll just leave the question for you. But can I say one more thing very shortly? The soul is very hard to define, just like art. We cannot define art, but somehow we know art tied with soul because it has feeling, okay? So the feeling, the root of the feeling is the ego. So what is really the ego? Like what we want or what we need. So whether the machine with mathematics knows what they want or what they need, I think it's still no. So yes, we still are both AI, I guess, as human.
Yeah, I think like it should leave it open actually.
Yeah, it should leave
because
open,
it would be like really ignorance of all of us to say what is it.
Because we artists, we just can't say what we practice. We're not scientists.
Yeah, I think is there any questions so far from the audience? So, like, I've been trying to, I did some of my thesis, one of my thesis about how to present AI artworks dealing with AI. And also it's like really struggling to write this because I study art history and all the professors are like really old and just into this, church pictures. So nobody wants to read my thesis. And then I moved to the other departments and about media and communication science. And they say, okay, yes, let's give it a try. It's cool, sounds really good. But even like there, I didn't really have the support that I needed because like people just know about like film theories. And it's so much different because it's also like involved in art and also involved in film theory because these are all videos and pictures. And so I think after my thesis, I just kind of like explain one of the aspect in the visual, but couldn't really know like how can we like display something that doesn't really exist. And and after this, I see like 3 different forms of displaying the work, which, let's just say, I still kind of struggling to say to really define. Okay, is it like gonna be a way to effective way? Is it passed to the concept? But I guess that, I think we all answered the question already, no? But anyway, do you have any struggling in like thinking how to display this and how to like really have for example, with you, Christian, how do you feel when you choose this picture? Because you have obviously 1,001.
You mean how do I decide which picture I choose?
Yeah.
Or I mean, I think that comes back to what I think every artist needs to have is a certain gut feeling to just like decide what is right or not. Like the same thing, like when do you decide when is your artwork finished or not, right? When are you done? So that's really based on a gut feeling. And at this point, at least a part of the original picture I use. Like then for the memory infusion, I try to step away from that classical approach, right? Because as I said, the same memory always creates the same glitch-like aesthetic. So in a way, that's a part where I try to hand over to like the software I wrote, like the responsibility of the final result, and like give kind of like more like an emphasis on chance or luck or whatever you want to call it, like on randomness, what comes out. Yeah. But also maybe just as a thought. So I mean, we said, and I think Nhi agrees with that, the idea that like an sentient, like conscious artificial intelligence might probably not exist, right? But that doesn't mean it's not a very powerful thing. And I think that also means if it's very powerful, it definitely, I think it can be dangerous, right? And we need to very carefully deal with it. But that's why it's important that like people like Nhi or Kaman or everyone like tries to experiment with it as an artist to see like what it can do, like, and that comes back to that idea of like the like glitch art where you try to reveal, right? Like what does this technology do? And I think that's where art is really important to deal with new technologies, because as artists we can look at many different aspects that the regular scientists wouldn't look at because they're not really interested in that in the first place. So we're kind of maybe like hackers that reveal errors or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think like when you talk about the glitch effect, and you said like, yeah, it's kind of like an add-on, but I don't think so, because the history of the glitch art or glitch effect is also come from the video art, right? And artists like Nam Yu Park also use that with his work, with his very old TV when he used a really huge magnets and tried to like destroy it. So and the actually the I think also like the act of how he used that to destroy things always show like we as human always kind of in control and deconstructs the thing that we haven't really understand. So I think this, I can like say that this has the same effect in what you're doing, and it's not like just like a random glitch thing. So yeah.
I think what I meant is like the original like part, like in my first part, I just created something that looks like a glitch, but it's not a real one. What I mean is if you just like use a filter on Instagram that says looks like a glitch, or if you just put a layer in Photoshop that looks like a glitch, I think that's ultimately meaningless. That looks fun, but like if we create something like a glitch, it needs to have some sort of algorithm that does something with your data physically or technologically wise. I think otherwise it's not a glitch, otherwise then it doesn't have meaning. That's what I was trying to say.
So it's otherwise going to be just a filter. Actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you just put a filter on it and it looks like a glitch, then okay, sure. It's like a vintage filter. It's not really an old photo. It just looks like an old photo.
Yeah. I think, did we talk about it yesterday? We prepare, actually we chit-chat a little bit yesterday about what AI is, and we all think that this AI is really stupid actually. It's not smart, it's not intelligent at all. But also we talk about, what is actually AI art, right? And what does it actually do? And we have there are some few examples of other artists' artworks, and I think like some really like this kind of lack of presentation with I don't know, like it's come back to this, what do you want to communicate with the viewer, right? And some are really like this infamous wallpaper artwork from Rivik Anadol. If you know him, he's actually really famous. Is
okay.
yeah. I mean, he trained the data, he feed the data to AI, and it creates like really impressive image and really impressive installation that he just did. But it really stopped. Like it really stopped at just like looking at it, and it had the effect of Instagram wall. But afterward, nobody really cares. Like just go. So which is why I think the three works that I had the chance to pick out for the exhibition actually really good, really cool, because no, I mean it's really they really are, because we just, for me, I also, when I look at your picture, Christian, I also like, try to read the text and try to relate as well, and not just like I'm looking at some random picture. I also asked question about like why do you put this glitch effects here, and what's the process behind it, right? And also after sort of reading the text, how do you do it, which is like super interesting, and also me, because we talked, right, and we didn't. I forgot that at the first time when we did the setup, I was asking like, okay, do you need a Kinect, or is it okay with a camera? Because it's two things are different to talk, and I totally forgot that. And later when we talk, we realize how conceptual that can be, and maybe you can talk about it a little bit more, like, the camera thing.
I try to make it very short to leave time for, yeah. So the Kinect, okay, I'm not a scientist again, but the Kinect itself used the different vision than the human view the world. It has built-in infrared light, just like the vision of the bat. So how the past see like thing here or there, know the depth and know the distance because it had used the infrared, is that the right word? Infrared, yeah, light. But human being, we just like see thing with colors, black and white, and somehow in our brains, with the very wonderful neural network, we analyze the surface. And I know you sit next to me or you sit in front of me. So I want to reflect that in my work because I try to create a digital ghost world, replicate from the real world. And that's why in order to do that, I need a neural network just like human brain. And that neural network is the Midas algorithm. And the Midas algorithm just like open source. You can go online and search how to use it and apply it and maybe try something fun. But I love the conceptual idea of how that can bring into my art. It gives a layer of like how human brain functions and AI or machine way far from where we are now. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So it some way turned into much more conceptual work than we're actually seeing. Yeah. You want to add on something?
Yeah, I wanted to add on the part when you talk about that the AI is actually mindless and really stupid. And I think that's what makes it really dangerous because of that effect that you call like a religion. Because if people believe in it, but actually it's stupid, then that's what makes it dangerous because it cannot make these informed decisions. And that's like the problem in a lot of cases because, say for example, in some countries it's used to decide whether you can get like a loan or not. And it just goes through the algorithm and makes like a mindless decision, and that's where it becomes discriminating and so on. And that was the one part, but I also want to say I'm really fascinated with the idea of that digital ghost because like it's kind of like something that first seems to be contradictory, but then when I see it, actually it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, do you plan to further work on that concept or?
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling there's a lot more in there, right?
Yeah, so right now I have one limitation is the computer. So the further stage is to record the people who stand in front of it and maybe delay for some time with two screens. The first screen is your real time and the second screen is you of the past, so maybe like 15 minutes past. So it's a little bit more work on it, coding, and a stronger, memories. Because it also reflect like how the computer memorize and how our brain memorize things. We have two systems of memories. The instant memories that we use for very like daily, maybe I drink this water, then my brain somehow knows how to drink it. And I also have memory of me at 5 years old. And the computer has that too. And that's like one further step. And also because, as I said, ghost is human, but in the past. So the 15 minutes delay is, memory is the ghost, it's our ghost, but like 15 minutes before. Yeah. But I'll say one more. But I also very love your work and Miss Kam Anle's work. I saw it in Instagram, and this is my first time seeing the work in real life. Because it gives a lot of question of like how different we from the AI, but AI is built from our own memory. And yeah, as I said, I love the question about the soul and the religion that happened in your work. Thank you so much for making the work. I'm so very...
Oh yeah, I think I would just let one last question for Cẩm Anh, and then we can move on to the question from the audience. Because like when we talk about when we was talking about exhibiting the work, you know, and you also suggested that hey, let Leon do a performance, and I think it's also really cool because it's also the way to like expand it out, just not in a conceptual way, but more in the way of thinking. the meaning of the work, you know, because maybe I guess just by the presentation that we currently having, it maybe leads to a lot of like interpretation, also like misinterpretation, and this performance is also, you know, it show gesture of worshiping, show gesture of believing, and like being like really, you know, like in a circulation of not really realizing what is real and what is not anymore. And maybe you could share a little bit more about like how was your, that was my interpretation, but maybe you can share a little bit more how did you and Leon did the process of the performance?
Sorry, now you stay a bit further from the camera. So
okay,
the question
sorry.
is, process, did I come up to the reaction or?
No. I mean, maybe could you tell us about the process that you and Leon developed this performance?
The performance of that, or the performance of
that, yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, now you're very far from it. Could you come closer to the computer and repeat the question, please?
Okay, I'm just gonna run real quick to the computer.
Lại hỏi lại.
Ý là thầy có thể share cái working process nữa thầy với cả bạn được không?
Okay. Yeah, okay, sure. Much better, yeah. Yeah, thank you for the question. And also thank you for all the feedback and also the comment and try to listen to like graph information over there because I'm not in the room, and very interesting and really to hear even you know part of the conversation from afar. Yeah, the process with me and that like I have to say it's really fascinating. It's also because it's like time is so tight. The moment that I know that like Nam invited me to this exhibition, and it was like I think 3 weeks before the exhibition opened, and then the work is already you know done in June, and then since then I don't touch it again. Like you know this thought is just I keep it there, and then I think about okay bring it to Vietnam and how to make it more relevant, because the work was produced for the audiences in Toronto, and with the concept, you know, the context of like carnival with this really Western, really Christian, you know. Although I try to bring a little bit of like ancestral blessing, like, you know, like in Vietnam, we would think like thờ cúng tổ tiên, you know. But it's still really, I don't know, it still feel too abstract. And then I always think about to elevate another layer of the work. With this, it needs to be done, and it has to be done. It has to be performed by human movements, and with the contemplation, of course, not only improvisation with the music and the interaction or the mantra, but it needs to be integrated by the performer artists who already also had some thought and idea into that. And I thought about that, and I'm super happy that like almost immediately, you know, agreed to work on me on this project, although the time is super tight. Like we have like I think 2 or 3 weeks to see each other. Like we talk to each other like 3 times, talk a lot, research based a lot, sharing texts. Also, I question mostly also with like at this talk, I pose questions. I don't give answers and let that explore it. And we look through several, you know, religious practices around the world. My idea is like, I don't want to be, you know, too close to, it's to be universal, but I still need to be personal. I mean, it's really, it doesn't make sense or not, but I think that thought about that, contemplate about that, and that uses practice. That's a performance artist. Have the training, ballet, and classical performance. And he studied in Utah, and is back to Vietnam for I think 4 years, and then and still have a lot of energies and thoughtful contemplation. So happy with the result coming out. Although I wasn't there on the day that performed. In fact, it was like I don't know, on the plane from Berlin to from Saigon to Hanoi. I think like to Berlin. But I know that could control it, and then because he understands the work, he understands the mission, and I think he also shared like some testimony, like some thoughts while working on the process. Maybe I can read it out loud a little bit if I allowed to.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, just very short. What he thinks from his perspective. I get it from his on his Instagram post. Yeah, so I'm also super happy. So standing up Mr. Southgate, this is from that perspective. Yeah, I just quote him. I already asked for his permission, so I can read it. Standing at Mr. Southgate, that rupture on the harmony of space, I could feel my body going through the same physical sensation that I experienced with doom scrolling on social media. That's also not religion. The Kinect captured my movement and feed into a program which immediately reinterprets it into light and color on the 2D screen. In return, I took this information as part of the trajectory to keep going and moving while responding to the question, which beliefs shall I choose, and everyone around me stand in shadow of the long dead God, Nietzsche. So he quotes Nietzsche in here. So yeah, I don't know I can add anything to that. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the performance.
Thank you. I mean, in a way, it's really connecting this, these two realms, like digital world and this physical body, this physical feeling that we feel, and more or less like what the digitality or digital does to our body, and how does it affect our perception and our mind, like being captured by this Kinect, and it can, when you think about it, you can feel something through it across. I believe so. Yeah. Thank you so much. Maybe I will move on to the first question from the audience.
Hello. I think this is a very interesting and important talk. I have two questions. The first one is about authenticity, relating to what you are doing. Do you feel that you may lose your authenticity or even the ownership over the products? The second matter would be legal issues. So that would relate to the IP, the intellectual property rights and stuff. Cái câu hỏi này mình xin nói bằng tiếng Việt một chút. I also need to express in Vietnamese so the audience and artists can understand. Mình câu hỏi này là về hai câu hỏi, hai vấn đề. Một là cái tính chính danh, hai là về những vấn đề pháp lý. Đấy, thì mình muốn hỏi là các nghệ sĩ ở đây, cả bạn Cẩm Anh nữa và bạn Như, đầu tiên là về tính chính danh thì mình thấy là con người vẫn theo đuổi là cái vẫn đi tìm, luôn luôn đi tìm cái căn tính, cái chính danh và cái nỗi băn khoăn bản thể nó luôn xuất hiện thường trực, và nghệ thuật chính là một cái phương tiện quan trọng để khám phá cái bản thể. Thế thì trong cái thời đại AI như này, với cái thế giới ma như bạn Như đang dùng một từ cũng khá là đúng đấy, thì nó có phải là văn hóa của chúng ta nữa không? Nó có phải là căn tính của chúng ta nữa không? hay nó trở thành một thế giới nó ảo ma mất rồi, nó thành một cái gì đó do máy móc nó tạo ra rồi, chứ tất nhiên nó phản ánh con người, nhưng phản ánh những mảnh vỡ của con người, những mảnh vỡ rất vụn và rất khác nhau, chắp vá dâu ông nọ cắm cằm bà kia, thì nó có thành một cái căn tính, thành một cái chính danh, thành một cái con người không, hay nó thành một con ma? Câu hỏi về chính căn tính và chính danh. Câu thứ hai về các vấn đề pháp lý, thì với vấn đề bản quyền thì mọi người có tự tin, những nghệ sĩ ở đây, giả sử các bạn nói là tôi không phải AI artist, thì mình lại nghĩ là như thế lại là một sự hơi kiêu ngạo chăng? Bởi vì những người mà họ dám nói là tôi là AI artist thì có nghĩa là họ thừa nhận là tôi dùng AI. Thì khi họ công bố tác phẩm ấy, thì mọi người cũng sẽ bớt nghiêm túc, nghiêm khắc với họ. Người ta sẽ bảo là đây là AI artist mà, thì nhẹ tay với họ tí. Còn nếu bạn không nói mình là AI artist mà bạn claim bản quyền, thì có thể có những rắc rối pháp lý đi kèm sang chăng. Đấy, hoặc là nếu bạn chưa giàu có thì không sao, nhưng nếu bạn rất nổi tiếng thì tất cả, tại vì AI bản chất nó là collect cái memory, đúng không? Và nó phân mảnh ra và nó ráp lại và nó sáng tạo ra theo những cái cách thức khác nhau. Về mặt nguyên tắc thì nó vẫn là sự cóp nhặt. Đấy, thì nó sẽ có thể dính dáng đến những cái vấn đề về pháp lý chăng. Thì mình hỏi hai câu hỏi đấy với mong muốn là hiểu thêm cái quan điểm từ các nghệ sĩ. Xin cảm ơn.
Should I answer it in Vietnamese rồi? Okay, I answer this in Vietnamese. Câu hỏi đầu tiên về original căng tỉnh theo xin lỗi, mình nói giọng địa phương nên mình hơi khó nghe một tí.
Hay mà.
Thứ nhất là mình phải đặt một câu hỏi là mục đích của AI và mục đích của nghệ thuật là gì, thì mình mới trả lời được cái câu hỏi của bác là như thế. Cháu nghĩ là cái câu hỏi lớn hơn câu hỏi đấy là như thế nào là AI nghệ thuật, đúng không? Chú anh đi ạ. Thì mục đích của nghệ thuật, mình không có khái niệm nghệ thuật là gì, nhưng mình hiểu là mục đích nghệ thuật là để thể hiện cảm xúc, để thể hiện ý tưởng, để thể hiện ý niệm. Còn mục đích của AI là một công cụ để giúp tự động hóa những cái việc mà con người không muốn làm quá nhiều lần. Thì ví dụ như mình thấy là AI để nhận diện gương mặt ở trong điện thoại chẳng hạn, mình không phải nhập mật khẩu mỗi lần. Thì chính vì hai cái mục đích đấy khác nhau, và nghệ thuật với AI vẫn khác nhau, và AI không thay thế được nghệ sĩ. Và những ý tưởng của nghệ sĩ hiện tại vẫn rất original, tại vì người ta làm nghệ sĩ làm tác phẩm nghệ thuật vì muốn thể hiện ý tưởng, idea. Câu hỏi thứ hai là về tính pháp lý của các tác phẩm AI. Thì câu hỏi này nó có, trước khi cháu trả lời câu hỏi này, em trả lời câu hỏi này. Em xin đưa ra một cái ví dụ là cách đây không lâu thì có một photographer, người ta vô tình để một cái máy ảnh ở trong rừng và khỉ nó tự chụp, và tự chụp cái ảnh của con khỉ đấy. Chắc là anh nghe cái chuyện này rồi đúng không? Đúng rồi. Sau đấy thì người ta đem đi thi bức ảnh này và được giải. Thì bây giờ câu hỏi đặt ra là bây giờ cái người chụp không phải là con người mà là con khỉ. Thế thì như thế nào là copyright của cái bức ảnh đấy? Thì là có cái lawsuit về cái điều này. Thì từ đấy mới thấy là cái copyright này, nếu như mình nói như vậy, tức là copyright nó không dành cho động vật, nó dành cho con người thôi, đúng không ạ? Thì phát triển lên, cái câu hỏi tiếp theo là như thế nào biết là copyright của cái tác phẩm mà dùng AI? Thì nó có, mình phải tách biệt hai lớp. Thứ nhất ấy, tất cả những cái công cụ mà generate ra sản phẩm nghệ thuật bằng hình ảnh bây giờ, nó là text to image, tức là mình phải cho đoạn văn của mình vào thì image nó tự generate. Thì cái image này nó được build bởi một hệ thống rất nhiều data set. Thì data đấy nó cào ở trên, mình phải kiếm data, là mình phải cào ở trên internet chẳng hạn. Thế thì cái originality nó không nằm ở cái đống dataset đấy, mà nó nằm ở từng bức ảnh ở trên mạng. Ví dụ em up một bức ở lên Instagram thì bức đấy là original, là của em, nhưng mà bức đấy bị cái con con AI nó cho vào bộ dataset thì nó là black box, mình không thể biết được. Thế thì mình truy copyright của nó như thế nào?
I understand most of that, and I will not answer in Vietnamese though, because my pronunciation is not great, and I will probably miss some of the vocabulary. But I just like, so thank you very much for the explanation, and I just like to add a few things. So the first question was about the originality of our art as artists, right? And yeah, or the authenticity, right? And the second one about the copyright. I want to answer about the copyright first. As like coming from documentary and commercial photography, having your own copyright and image rights and licensing is something I always been naturally very interested, because like that's the way you run your business, right? And but with art that includes AI, it becomes very tricky, especially if you talk about generative AI like Midjourney or whatever, where we don't put own data in, but just like generate the art. But I think the most important thing here is to see that actually this technology is developing so fast that the lawmakers cannot keep up with creating like the law yet. So there are like some kind of decisions been made, but they're also not necessarily international, and everything develops really, really fast. But I think just because the law is not there, it shouldn't stop us as artists to work with it. We cannot wait for like the lawmakers to decide this is the copyright or not, because we would lose a lot of time, and everything is developing so fast. So I think we still need to continue making the art, but that means we come into a gray area where we're maybe not sure what happens with that. My understanding at the moment, and I'm not a lawyer, so I just can say this is my understanding as a photographer and an artist, is that if something is purely an AI generated, so text to image, then nobody has a copyright to it. So if I just go to Midjourney and say, give me a picture of the Women's Museum in Vietnam in the style of Nhi, right? Then the image comes out and nobody owns it. Like I cannot say I created it. But if I start to do something to it, like maybe I paint on top or something, then I can claim I own it. I think this example doesn't actually touch on any of the art that Nhi or Kam An or I are creating. Like that's just like the general commercial understanding. But I think the more interesting question is the question of originality, right? And that brings us to the bigger question of what is original, right? So I think one way in AI or in AI-related arts to be original is to really see it as a tool and not as the thing that creates for us. But what do we do with it? What data do we feed it? What are the decisions that we make in the process, and how do we then represent it? So I think that all of the art we've seen here is like very original, right? And in the way that it's like authentic, right? But on the other hand, we see a lot of things where people create something in Midjourney and they say, oh, look what I created. And I always think, no, actually you didn't create it. You just like told it, do it for you. So yeah, that's my take on it. Maybe, I don't know what Kaman's thoughts are on this would be probably good.
Do you want to add on anything, Kamang?
Yes, of course. Trả lời bằng tiếng Việt đúng không?
Yeah. Trả lời đi.
Việt hay tiếng Anh bây giờ? Nhiều khi không biết rồi. Tại vì là câu hỏi rất là hay. Nói chung là cảm ơn anh hoặc chú mẹ. Em hoặc cháu không nhìn thấy mặt nên là không hỏi được. Thì thứ nhất là chính danh, tại vì là xin lỗi mọi người là tiếng Việt của anh về nghệ thuật thì rất là kém, tại vì lúc ở Việt Nam là không học nghệ thuật. Lúc mà qua Đức khoảng 6 năm nhưng mà không có cơ hội để dùng tiếng Việt mà từ ngữ về chuyên ngành nghệ thuật, nhưng mà mình rất là thích cái từ chính danh authenticity. Là mình nghĩ là cả hai câu hỏi đều liên quan đến nhau, copyright và authenticity, bởi vì là khi mà người nghệ sĩ mà làm ra một cái tác phẩm ấy thì kể cả không có dùng AI, theo mình nhé, tôi không dùng AI, thì khi mà có một cái sự giống nhau hoặc là biến thể của cái tác phẩm trên 50%, người ta sẽ biết là ok, cái này là copy, là hàng nhái, tranh chép hay là tranh gốc. Hay là người nghệ sĩ họ có câu hỏi trước, họ đi tìm một cái gì đó lớn hơn là cái hình ảnh đó, họ có một cái practice của họ nhìn chung ấy, là có, mình nghĩ là nhìn chung là họ đã sử dụng những cái loại hình nghệ thuật khác nào rồi, trước khi dùng AI chẳng hạn, họ đã dùng những cái medium nào rồi, những công cụ nào rồi để tìm cái câu hỏi của người nghệ sĩ đó, và cái người nghệ sĩ đó thì, và cái câu hỏi đó thì không thể nào, theo mình là không thể nào mà thay thế được với AI cả. AI chỉ là công cụ thôi. Thì đó mình nghĩ là cái cách để tìm authenticity là chắc là phải nghiên cứu về một cái sự nghiệp nghệ thuật, cũng phải cần khá là nhiều thời gian của từng người nghệ sĩ, và cần thời gian nữa. Bản thân mình cũng chỉ mới làm mình làm nhóm khoảng 5 năm và làm cá nhân chắc khoảng 1 năm thôi, và mình cũng gọi là rất là còn mới để có thể nhìn thấy một cái authenticity đó. Bản thân mình đang tìm. Còn tại sao mình không gọi mình là AI artist? Bởi vì là đây là tác phẩm duy nhất mà mình dùng AI để đối thoại với AI, đối thoại về cái lệ tôn giáo, đối thoại với niềm tin, đối thoại với lại con người nên đứng ở đâu, đối thoại về câu hỏi là thế nào là thực tế. Bởi vì hồi trước là mình dùng virtual reality, đó là thực tế ảo ấy, thì lúc nào câu hỏi cũng là thế nào là thực tế. cái thực tại này mình không muốn sống, mình muốn sống thực tại khác, thực tại đấy nghĩa là gì chẳng hạn thế. Thì đó, mình bring cái câu hỏi đấy vào lúc mà mình đối thoại với AI có thể change cái cách mình nhìn nhận người hay không. Đó là lý do tại sao mình không gọi mình là AI artist. Một cái lo ngại của anh là tại sao không viết tên tool ra, thì em có credit ở trên website của em, nên là credit là mình đã dùng cái tool gì. Bing Chat, ChatGPT hồi đấy là 3.5, Dolly và Runway ML. Và trong cái tác phẩm của mình thì mình không chỉ có một cái hình ảnh đó thôi, mà mình để nó rất là kiểu không có một cái thứ tự structure gì cả, vì mình thấy nó cũng rất là hỗn loạn, như cái cách mình con người đang bơi giữa biển nhau như thế này, nó không có. Và zoom in zoom out lúc nào cũng thế. Và thứ nhất, và cuối cùng nó kèm bằng cái phần mềm touch designer thì nó kiểu thêm một cái layer nữa, và đó là cái aesthetic mà mình nghĩ là không phải là cái AI có thể bất kỳ một nghệ sĩ riêng nào có thể là đưa ra được, mình nghĩ thế. Trở lại vấn đề kiểu pháp lý, khi mà mình rất là trên thế giới nhá, thực ra là đã có những cái chuyện mà là kiện Midjourney và cái kiện ai nhỉ, kiện Midjourney về cái chuyện là kiểu họ dùng cái picture của một người nghệ sĩ, cô ấy tên là Sarah Anderson, một cái cô vẽ comic rất là nổi tiếng, rất là cute, kiểu hay làm mèo, nhưng mà dùng rất là kiểu đời sống hàng ngày thôi, thì rất là có cái sự ảnh hưởng nhất định ở bên Mỹ. Thì xong rồi những cái người mà theo Donald Trump thì họ kiểu là cánh tả cực tả ấy, họ dùng cái ảnh của cô ấy thì là biến thành kiểu như là để propaganda cho chiến dịch của họ. Và cô rất là bực mình, không phải bực mình mà như là cảm thấy xúc phạm, mà cô đã đệ đơn kiện. Cái câu chuyện này là bây giờ kiện ai? Đấy nghĩa là mình phải, khi mà muốn kiện nhau thì mình có phải có tư cách pháp nhân mình mới kiện được, đúng không? Thì cái AI nó là một cái rất là rộng mình không biết, nhưng mà cái công ty phần mềm nó làm ra thì kiện Midjourney, là kiện cái người mà làm là truy xuất ra cái người mà đã làm một cái hình ảnh như thế, và cái tên tuổi của cô bị xúc phạm. Thì đó, thì trước khi mà nói tính pháp lý thì mình nghĩ là ok, muốn kiện nhau cũng phải biết là ai đã làm gì ở đâu, khi nào benefit nhiều nhất để kiện. Và theo mình hiểu thì là trên Midjourney tất cả những cái gì mà đã generate ở trên đó thì nó thuộc về public hết. Theo mình hiểu như thế, không biết là lần cuối thì như nào, mình lâu cũng không được Midjourney, không biết. Nhưng mà đó thì là nó đều là public, và người ta có thể sử dụng cái prompt, kể cả cái prompt luôn cũng public luôn, nên là mình cũng không thể, nó thuộc về nhân loại luôn, mình cũng không thể là claim cái copyright cho nó được. Hy vọng là nó trả lời được một ít những cái băn khoăn của mọi người.
Yeah, thank you. Cảm ơn. I think I'm gonna add on some of my thoughts on this, because I think this tool, there's a reason why it made as open source. It's made as a public tool that everyone can gain access to, because we don't understand about it, so we cannot let somebody owns it entirely. And this leads also to our understanding or our perception about what is copyright. And actually, like this, we talk about this the other days, like this is really interesting, because you said like it's very democracy. Yeah. But I think it's not really democracy, because democracy is when different parties fighting on each other and gains what the strongest wins, right? Let easily explain it simply like that. But I would say like it creates accessibilities to people, to everyone who can use it, and these tools are simplified so much now. Everyone can literally use it. After 1 or 2 hours of tutorials, anyone can use it, and you can even write codes with that as well. So it creates way much more possibility than just creating image, and it also leads to like when you say, okay, let's talk about NFT. You know, a solution was created for a non-existent problem that we all agree on. Because we talk about like who owns this thing, you know, who the artist would say. I work also in the art field. I work with galleries. They really keen on this, you know, ownerships, and this ownership and this copyright is a very capitalistic thing to make money. And so now, if you don't, you have this digital work which can be so easily to be copied, to be spread around, instead of this only one painting. When you can say, okay, this is Da Vinci painting, you can only have one because he's already dead. Obviously, he cannot produce anymore. But I'm pretty sure that in a millions copies of Mona Lisa, there must be one that's 99% similar, or really, really close. So what is copyright, right? What is originality? Because every artwork or every idea that has to come from somewhere. So where do you want to call this is original? And it's also like a development and of something that already exists in this world. So if you want to say like what is original, you can just say, okay, this is like the original of this artwork is a cave painting. So right, what's the first thing that we found? Not entirely, you know, there must be something before that as well. So we don't know what is originality. And also like copyright, right? We think like, okay, this is, everybody can create art, everybody make art. So, and we have these cases in Hollywood where a lot of writers saying like, okay, our work is being generated and rephrased and you know, recreated, and we lost jobs. And also like these NFT things, copyright, who owns a JPEG files, like who cares, really, who cares? Because when you use the word copyright, you say, you're trying to save your life on it, you try to cling on it, to claim that it's yours. But this tool is not about what is yours and what is not. This tool is about open it for everyone. It's creating actually possibility that, or chances, it offers chances that everyone can work together. It's not about claiming something. You know, like I think that should be the ideology that we should support on, instead of like trying to say, okay, this is mine and this is yours. And it's really, you know, it can change. It's often a way to change the point of view of the world, and point of view on this whole political system. Like, why do we have borders? Why do we have this and that? You know, we can change.
I just like to add though that the tools are unfortunately not really open for everyone, right? Like, so if you look at OpenAI, it's called OpenAI, but it's really not open, right?
I mean, not yet, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, but there are the open models. There's like I don't know how the GPT is called, like probably OpenGPT or whatever, and then like Stable Diffusion is open source. So some of the technologies are open source, but I think. And yeah, in fact, a lot of these things are happening not only in a black box as term of an algorithm, but they're also developed behind closed doors where we not necessarily have the access to. And that's also problematic.
And for me, I got to ask one last thing. The main difference between AI and human is reasoning. So good art is born out of good reasoning. And that's why still cannot replace artist jazz. Yes.
All right. I hope that answer your question actually, or make you think more about it. It should be like that, you know. Yeah, I think we kind of out of time, so I would close that. I guess there won't be another question, no? Yeah, okay, so thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys enjoy the talk and leave with even more questions. That should be good. Always questioning, convincing yourself first, and then question it again over and over. That's how we evolve, we developed. Yeah, and the exhibition is until Friday, so go and see. If you miss it, you miss it. Don't do it.
Thank you so much for coming.
Have a nice evening.